So when you're studying a new language, one of the most important elements is getting to grips with vocab. A lot of my students tend to repeat the same words again and again, which I call relying on default vocab. And they don't include enough variety in their written or speaking answers. So that's why they tend to lose marks here and they find it difficult to access higher level grades such as the 8s and 9s. And, it's really easy for teachers to say, you've got to learn your vocab, but unless you get into a structured routine and you stick to it, you might feel a little out of depth every time you start a new syllabus topic when you haven't learned all the vocab from the previous topic. And, it tends to pile up all on top of each other. So this video runs through 6 steps that I teach my GCSE Spanish students. This is also applicable to other languages, French, etc., and also for students who are A-level learners and in general anyone learning a language really. So these 6 steps are all visually laid out in the free downloadable PDF, the link is below, which you can keep and refer to. So let's begin. Step 1, identify and group. So what that means is you've got to look through your textbooks and topic booklets for the lists of vocab that you need to learn. You need to be able to separate it into syllabus topic by syllabus topic. Although obviously you can expect there to be overlap with the vocab that you use from one topic to another. Now, most students that I speak to have booklets, they've got online lists, they've got lists from textbooks, and things can get on top of each other. So you want to condense everything into what I call my master vocab list. Now, once you've got all the vocab you need for that specific topic, you group it all into subcategories related to the themes. So let's take the world of work and jobs. If you want to group that into subtopics, you can do, let's select work experience, the pros and cons of going to university and education. So this way, it's easier to manage the different groups of vocab that you've got. Now, don't forget that vocab also includes things like verbs, grammar, subjunctive phrases. So don't limit yourself just to things such as nouns or adjectives. Step 2. Write the list out in your notebook. So write these grouped lists in a separate notebook that's just specifically for vocab because, when you're in class making notes, you've got everything flying around all over the place. So make sure that you have one specific book that's dedicated to your vocab and you keep referring to it. Now, as repetitive as it can be, most of my students write out their vocab before tests and assessments. It's a good idea because the act of writing, let's say cognitively, helps us to remember the words that we want to be using. So do this as often as possible. I know it does get a little bit repetitive, but it really, really does work. Now, step 3, you want to be adding vocab to record flashcards. Now, I use the white lined cards, which I have here. So you can use these that are just singular, or you can also use the spiral booklets. This one actually I prefer just having the spiral because it allows you, I'm going to show you here, just to be able to have everything in one place. You don't have to type round with a rubber band or anything like that. And also these flashcards are great when you want to remember vocab before an oral assessment or exam because it targets higher tier words and perhaps even longer phrases, but they're all written into bite-sized chunks. You can highlight stuff on there as well. And flashcards, they make it so much easier to visualize. So use bullet points, use highlighters, underline, use arrows because it really helps for your vocab to stand out. The 4th thing that I recommend, step 4, is to create Quizlet or Memrise decks. So create these flashcard decks on your app or also on the desktop version. So you're listing groups of vocab. On one side of the flashcard, you've got the translation and the other, you've got it in the other language. Use the white space. Students just put one word on there, but I think it's a good idea to have several words or even more than that on each side of the flashcard. Most of my students are using Quizlet, and I'm sure you are too. So you can search for ready-made decks. If you're feeling a little bit lazy, you don't want to make your own. But I find that if you do make your own flashcards, you're remembering the words that you specifically have difficulty processing and using. So this means it's tailored specifically for you rather than another teacher or someone else that's done it. It's also a great way to learn in bulk, and I call this method my swipe and learn technique. If you've got a short attention span, like quite a few of my students have, you prefer learning in 5 or 10-minute chunks. And often moving on to something else, as long as you're doing it little and often, you will see that difference. I mentioned this in my other video, which is how to transition from Year 9 to Year 10 GCSE. The link is below if you haven't watched it yet. So with Quizlet and Memrise, if you want to take your vocab to the next level, you can upgrade to highlight, bold, underline the vocab and listen to the audio. And it's super cheap, so I do recommend it. Step 5, record the audio. Now, this is honestly one of my favourite techniques. And when I first start teaching students, they've never really heard of it before, but I think it's especially useful also before your oral assessments and exams. So you recite lists or categories of vocab into your phone, create an album, and then you just keep on listening to it. And some of my students prefer this way rather than reading. So, if you've got a spare 5-10 minutes, it's really good. It acts like filling in time. If you want to take it one step further, leave a short gap between every word so you can practice the pronunciation yourself out loud. Step 6, post-it notes. You're probably already doing this, but I think it's worth mentioning because I believe that languages are all about layering. So you don't necessarily just have one method that suits. You've got a variety or a hybrid of different methods that you keep on layering and repeating. So with this, you pick a group of words you're learning for a topic and you write it on some post-it notes. Hang these up so you see them every day. So my students tend to put them on sort of mirrors and desks and notice boards and stuff and wardrobe doors, etc. I recommend different coloured post-it notes for different topics and types of words so you can group them together and it's easier to visualise. Once you've memorised them, move on to the next batch, but don't throw that work away, don't throw the post-it notes away. Just pop them into a separate folder or an envelope or something so you can go back to them for revision time. Because say you've spent this week revising vocab for the environment. You know you're going to need that vocab in 3 months' time, 4 months' time, closer to exams and assessments. So don't throw that away because you're only going to be wasting time. So yeah, that's my six steps, really, 6 techniques to help you remember your vocab. If you found this useful, click the link below to check out the other free resources to help you with your language learning. I'd love it if you could hit the like as well. I've just started to do these videos, so it really helps me to get an understanding of what students want more of. And if you've got any tutorials that you'd like me to do, then just click on the comment below and I'll see what I can do.